On this episode of AISD Extra, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Dr. Adam Stevens joins the program and breaks down some of the academic success in Angleton ISD. We are also spotlighting character development in our schools and why it's so important. That's all ahead on this episode of AISD Extra. Here's our host, Hannah Chalmers.
Welcome to our fourth episode of AISD Extra. This is the last one for this school year. It was pretty successful so far, so we hope to give you a great episode to close out the school year. And so we're going to actually talk with Dr. Adam Stevens, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, about all things kind of academic. So, hi, Dr. Stevens. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Hannah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and talk about all things academics.
All things academics. What a better way to close it out, right?
Yes. I'm actually a little disappointed that I'm the last guy of this school year. So,
I mean, would you feel better if we said we saved the best for last?
That would be better. Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. We saved the best for last. Not to discount all the other guests who were fantastic who came before you, but Dr. Stevens, just start it off a little bit and tell us about yourself.
So yeah, my name's Adam Stevens. I am the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum in Angleton. So I have a really unique role that I get to, one, support the school, support the principals, but then at the same time help ensure that our kids have access to just a really high quality and robust curriculum. And so just a great job. I'm going into year 6, so just having a blast here in Angleton.
Well, we've seen a lot of great success since you've come on board. So I just want to jump into it. We hear a lot about AIC being an A district. What does that actually mean to be an A-rated district in the state? Sure,
yeah. So every year the state, at the end of the school year, looks at all the schools' star scores, their dropout rate, their attendance rate, and assigns them a number, or in this case, that number corresponds to a letter. And so we were really fortunate that through hard work from every single one of our teachers, our principals, our departments across the board, the state basically said, hey, your accomplishments have earned you the letter recognition of an A. And so they only started recognizing schools as kind of letter grades several years ago. They felt like, we used to say someone was recognized or someone was exemplary, distinguished.
Yeah.
But, parents don't really understand what that means. And so it's kind of similar to when you drive around the county and you walk into Little Caesars and there's an A on the front door. Like, you understand,
you're eating in an A restaurant.
I'm eating in a clean restaurant,
yeah.
Right? I don't understand everything that goes into what makes this an A restaurant. And so it's kind of the same thing. There's some stuff that the public doesn't understand about what makes us an A district. But at the end of the day, really it's a mark that says all of our kids have access to a really high quality education. And it's one of those things that it's a moving target. You could have a district that's an A one year and not an A the next year, or they're a C one year and then they're an A. And so it really encourages us to kind of keep trying and keep getting better year after year so we can continue to maintain an A rating.
Are there certain key things that we have to hit to get that with? It's based on assessment, right? Or tests?
It's based on the STAR tests and the end of course exams. And so those are a big thing. And the state's really shifted focus. Back in my day when I was a classroom teacher, it was really more about having the students pass and just getting as many kids as we can to get the lowest possible passing score. What the state looks at now is growth. What percentage of your kids, got an 80 last year? That kid needs to get at least an 81 this year to be successful. And so, it's really about measuring individual student growth. And then a big metric that the state looks at is what percentage of our graduating seniors are college, career, and military ready.
Right.
And so for a long time, again, it was focused on get them to pass the EOC, get them to graduate.
That's end of year course,
yeah.
For those who don't know.
Yeah, so for a long time, it was focused on have them pass their end of course exam, have them graduate, then we were a successful school district. But the state said, we're sending as a state too many kids out, not prepared for college, not prepared for a career. And so they made that a big premium. And so as a district, our CCMR rate generally hovers around 90%. So that's something that we're really proud of.
Yeah, that shows that we are actually not just, we're getting them prepared. It's not just let's pass this test. We are getting them out there ready to be productive members of our community. Let's talk about board goals because they're generally centered around on our curriculum and instruction. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So can you speak a little bit about what the board goals are and then maybe how we are working to meet those goals and challenge ourselves each time with those?
Yeah, so the board goals are really neat because, we think that STAR is cool, But we don't think that STAR is a really great measure of how successful our students are being, because it only focuses on third grade students and, kids in third through eighth grade, and then of course. And so our board goals are really centered on growing all students. And so our board goals are rooted in the MAPS assessment, which is an assessment that we give multiple times through the year. So students take it at the beginning of the year, and it basically says a student that's received this score of 200 on this exam, if they get pretty high quality instruction by the end of the year, they should be at 230. And so that kind of gives us a metric to shoot for. But our board goals are really rooted in the fact that we want all of our students to be able to get to third grade and be on grade level. And so, each campus has individual percentiles that they shoot for, but we're really focused on ensuring that all of our third grade and fifth grade students are ready to kind of enter those more rigorous grade levels and compete. And there's also a board goal that's rooted in just continuing to support students and reducing the number of discipline referrals. And so,
because we know if they're not in the classroom learning, what's the point?
Yeah, and we know that COVID broke the educational system as we know it, and it broke some of our teachers, and it broke some of our students, and it took away supports, and so they just missed things. And so coming out of COVID, we had kind of an increase, as all districts did, of office referrals. And so I believe this year was the first year we were back to kind of pre-COVID levels. So we're continuing to work to kind of just put supports in place so we can have students hit those goals. So yeah, it's really rooted on academics, it's rooted on discipline referrals, and it's rooted on maintaining our high college, career, military readiness rate.
And I want to point out, because parents, make sure you understand and the community understands this. It's not saying no. There may still be a discipline referral. It is we're putting interventions in place to try to get kids to not have an issue in the first place. Correct?
Yeah, and so we've done a lot of things. I think one of the things that you guys have spoken about on the podcast before is the whole Capturing Kids' Hearts platform, because kids can't learn from people they don't like. And so you can't have a kid sit in your class and listen and be respectful and follow instructions if you don't have a relationship with them. And so we've put a premium on programs like that, and kind of more of an approach on whole child. We've put more mental health resources in place for students, and all that we feel like is going to give students and adults the power to just solve those problems together, and then hopefully end up spending more time in the classroom and less time in the office.
Let's shift a little bit and go into what is it that we are looking to see going into next school year as we're closing out this school year. What are we going to see differently or new maybe in the next school year?
So probably the biggest thing that our students will see and our parents will see is that this is a new adoption year, and so every couple of years the state puts out new TEKs, and then they put out new resources. And so we spent about 6 months this year reviewing the new science TEKs, and then meeting with publishers and trying to figure out what curriculum we feel like is going to help our teachers better meet our students' needs. And so the biggest change for us in Angleton is going to be the new science TEK. So we've already had access to that. Our coaches have been working. Our teachers have been starting to train on that. So that's probably the biggest thing. One of the things that we really try to do is just not overload and not overwhelm our teachers and our administrators and even our central office staff with initiative after initiative after initiative. And so, we try to stick with one or two things and kind of continue to refine those. And so for us, it's been PLCs, which are professional learning communities. And so we've been with that in our coaching. You
might need to explain what is a PLC.
So a PLC is basically, we would think of it as like, all the teachers on a grade level get together. Back when I was a teacher, we didn't really have good PLCs. And so it would be, you'd get together every Wednesday during your planning time.
If even that.
Yeah. And, maybe you'd talk about the end of the year banquet or what you're going to bring for the Christmas party, or you'd complain about Billy or Billy's parents. And, we really put a premium on giving teachers and schools the skill set and the tools to have a really high-functioning PLC. So now when our teachers meet, they're really focused on individual student success. They do that through the lens of answering 4 questions. What do we want our kids to know? How are we going to know they learned it? What are we going to do when they didn't learn it? And I can tell you right now, the last question totally just slipped my mind. And so, but they answer those 4 questions. They bring student data. And so our teachers have gotten really, really good at the PLC process, but it's kind of one of those things. It's like golf. You are never a great golfer. You have to continue to refine it and continue to work, because your kids change. You may golf on a windy day. You may golf on a rainy day. One year you may have a class that's, further ahead in math, and one year you may have a class that's maybe a little behind in math. So you have to kind of continue to ask those questions and continue to assess how those kids are doing. So, we've been really big on kind of PLCs, and so that's where we are. And probably the biggest change that we'll see as a district is This year is our data collection year. So no real impact for our parents or students, but our teachers are now eligible for up to $20,000 extra a year from the state of Texas via a program called the Teacher Incentive Allotment. So it's a bonus structure that the state of Texas has put in place for all of our teachers in kindergarten through 8th grade, Algebra 1, Geometry, English 1, and English 2. And so if their students hit certain growth metrics on our MAPS assessment, then they're going to be eligible for, like I said, up to $20,000 a year. So that's going to be a change because, new things like that come into place. And so, we're excited because there's nothing new that comes along with that. We're going to continue to use our MAP assessment. We're going to continue to use the state classroom evaluation
We've already been
tool.
doing this stuff.
So it's just taking what we've already done and now kind of putting some dollars behind it. And so that always kind of gives people some angst. But again, at the end of the day, there's nothing new really that comes along with that. But probably the TIA and the science adoption are the biggest two things coming kind of from the curriculum side of the house.
You speak a lot. I think with the PLC, I get this idea is it's such a team idea, team support.
Yep.
I know the district has added a lot in terms of coaching and mentoring. Can you speak just a little bit about like the instructional coaches and coaching models that we use?
So that's been a big thing that, I think people take for granted is that you think, well, hey, I was a really good teacher, so that's going to make me a really good manager of adults, or that means I can tell other people how to do it. Just because I can bake doesn't mean I can tell you how to bake a really good cake. Like you can just do that. And so it's one of those things that even as you become a principal, like nobody actually sits down with you and says like, hey, let me share with you how to have a conversation with an adult where you maybe have to give some critical feedback or some difficult feedback. And so, we recognize that. And so we went all in several years ago on coaching. And so the superintendent kind of in his brilliance led this effort. He has a coach that he meets with at central office. All of us at central office.
That growth mindset, right?
Yeah. All of us at central office have been through a RICE coaching model with coaches. All of our principals have a coach. And so every teacher in Angleton has access to an instructional coach, which helps them with their practice. And then we also have behavior coaches, and their first line of defense is to kind of work with teachers as they have students that kind of have different kind of behavioral challenges, but then they also help kind of support students and kind of give them skills and tricks and tips to kind of help when they're struggling and help them kind of with those self-regulation skills. And so coaching for us is something that we just think is so important because you're never there, right? There's always new things to learn. There's always new practices, new protocols. So we continue to invest in coaching. And we think that is one of the reasons that we continue to be successful as a district is because, we don't feel like anybody is there, anybody's arrived. We feel like we can all grow and get better. And so we're going to continue to coach. We're going to continue to work on our PLCs. And then, like I said, science and TIA are going to be the big things you probably hear the most about.
Next year, yeah. So let's close out with what do you feel most proud of in terms of academics?
So I think I think there's, you could say, well, we're an A district, but nobody really understands at the end of the day what that really means. I think what I'm most proud of in terms of the work that we've done in Angleton ISD is that, we talk about we want every kid to be successful. And here, if you're a kid that is interested in anime, we have an anime club. If you're interested in esports, we have an esports club. If you're interested in football, band, and traditional high school things, we have that. We have a super successful CTE center that we're sending in right now. Culinary program is great. Our vet tech program is great. So as a district, we've really tried to put a system in place where if there's something that you want to do once you leave us, we're going to help you kind of round out those skills and round out those talents. And so some of that starts when, we're in our kindergarten, dual language classroom, right? We want those kids to leave us and be dual language speakers and just biliterate and be able to kind of read and contribute to those to society in both languages. And so we start that in kindergarten. I think, but that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of is that there's something that you want to do. We're going to give you the opportunity to try and to kind of refine those skills. So when you leave us, you're ready to step out, whether it's college, whether it's career, and be really successful. So I think that's probably the thing that I'm most proud about. But I think that, that all stems from the kind of people that we have in Angleton ISD. I mean, it is a great district. Our teachers are amazing. Our principals are amazing. And so can't say enough about it.
Well, Dr. Stevens, thank you for joining us. I know I kind of just threw an umbrella of academics out there, but we hit on some really key things I think that hopefully people will find interesting. And if you want to say anything else, here's your opportunity.
No, I think thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Hopefully I get to go first next year.
He's not going to let it go.
No, I won't. So thank you. See you later.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to shift gears right away into our Spotlight segment, and so happy to bring on two really amazing ladies who I've known for a long time and do great things, especially in the field of character. And that's what we're going to spotlight today is character and character development in our schools. So we brought the gurus, I feel like, of character development from Southside Elementary because they've done so much work with character development over I don't know, more than a decade, 2 decades worth of time here. And I just want to start off by welcoming Jerry Lynn McNeil, principal at Southside Elementary, and Karen Pointer, our music teacher and one of our leaders of character at Southside Elementary. And I just want to start off by asking you ladies, just tell us, very briefly, like who you are, maybe how long you've been at Southside and in education.
Sure. So I'm Jerry Lynn McNeil. I'm the principal at Southside Elementary School. I have been there now for 14 years, but I began my career in education with Angleton ISD in 1998 as a 4th grade writing teacher at Frontier Elementary. Later went to Angleton Intermediate School to be an assistant principal there for 4 years, where I was also the gifted and talented coordinator. And so, I spent my last 14 years at Southside as the principal. So that's me.
And we are happy to have you part of Angleton. You've been here, you're an institution, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
What about you, Karen? Who's Karen?
So I'm Karen Pointer. I am the music teacher at Southside. It's my 20th year in education. I began at the junior high and the high school here in Angleton teaching band for 8 years, and then I've been at Southside for 12 years. And I've been leading the Character Counts Committee for the past 3 years.
Okay. So you know things about character.
A little bit.
That's why you're here, ma'am. Jumping it right into the questions, I want to ask you, so what does character education development really look like day to day at Southside? We talk about it broadly, but I want to, hear what y'all do at Southside.
That's a pretty big question with a pretty lengthy answer.
Oh, well, let's get into
it. It's really, character education is really embedded in just everything we do. Every day, students are greeted with a smile when they enter the building. Teachers and students are greeting and welcoming students at the classroom door. All classes, academics, music, library, that kind of thing.
I know it's big in music. Yeah.
Absolutely in music. They begin with a discussion of good things every day. We have social contracts that the teachers and students create together. They're posted all over. They're not just in classrooms, but they're in our cafeterias. They're during lunches for students to refer to. They're in our gym during PE. They can refer to those. We have hand signals that kids use to remind each other to follow the social contract and what they agreed to and how they agreed to treat one another, and ways that they can call a foul if someone does something they shouldn't according to the social contract.
It's almost like embedded in every single piece of everything they do. Yeah,
every single thing. So you want to talk about the big idea of the months and our daily morning announcements?
So every morning when kids come to school, they go into their classrooms and they eat their breakfast and they watch their morning announcements. In our morning announcements, every announcement they have has something to do with the big idea of the month. Right now we're using core essential values, and they have, like, for the month of May, our big idea is commitment. So they're hearing little snippets every day to reinforce what commitment is. They watch videos on Monday mornings that show what commitment looks like, how they can display that trait. And then what I like most about each month is at the end of the month, the teachers select students that show the big ideas, and we award those at our Friday morning announcements.
Which are, something to come and watch, because I have been lucky enough to be on your campus for Friday morning announcements, and they are something really special and fun to see. It's great. Those kids really love it there.
We, our Friday morning announcements, we incorporate so much into those announcements. We think that it's important for the kids to have ownership in the school building, and so we have our Golden Awards every Friday, and so one of the Golden Awards that we have is the Golden Plunger. It's we believe in ownership, but we also believe in responsibility, and so
she said plunger, by the way. I want to point that out. Plunger, like what you put in your toilet.
That is golden. It is. But we believe that the grade levels should have responsibilities too, not just feel ownership but have responsibilities. And so it's our actual second grade's responsibility to check the restrooms. Boys' restrooms, girls' restrooms, they make sure no one's there to begin with, that the toilets are flushed and the sinks aren't running and the floors are clean, that kind of thing. And then on Friday mornings, we announce the Golden Plunger, and the winner is either the boys or the girls, whoever's restrooms were the cleanest. We have our Golden A, and the students all know that our school goal for attendance is 97%. Every single one can tell you, and the way they know how they can earn 97%, we tell them, how do you earn 97%? They can all tell you, you have to come to school.
Come to school.
And so we award the golden A to the grade level that did the best job that week with their attendance. And then...
because showing up is character, too. I mean, like, that is absolutely character.
It's part of having good work ethic.
Absolutely.
So we also give out the golden fork. And so
the
golden fork is a giant golden fork, as tall as some of the kids even. But that is for the grade level that did the best job this week, keeping their voices low, their tables clean, and just, showing respect in the cafeteria when they're eating lunch. And so the kids love it. And that's a weekly thing that we do with the golden awards during Friday morning announcements.
I do want to point out that the golden plunger is a clean plunger. It is not a used plunger.
Correct.
I just want that
correct.
to all parents
it is
out
unused.
there.
It is unused, but they do parade around with it through the cafeteria when they win. And they're very happy to have that.
I also like on our Friday morning announcements when we give out our Oscar cards. And Oscars, the kids will tell you, stands for Our Students Can Act Responsibly. Throughout the week, the teachers see students that are acting responsibly. They give them a card. They write what they did, and the kids get to put it in the box. And on Friday, Mrs. McNeil pulls out 2 names from each grade level to get a little treat for showing how responsible they were. And then on top of that, we have our affirmation box, which is new this year, where the students write affirmations to other students and to teachers, and teachers can write them to students. And they pull out some affirmations, and they read them to the school, and the kids get a treat. And I actually... This morning, one of the kids came up and she's like, I'm so happy I got pulled. And it's like, just melts your heart.
That's amazing. That's why you do it. I mean, that's why we're teaching it, because it does matter to them as well. I want to maybe ask y'all, shift gears a little bit. I know y'all carried a distinction for 10 years because you won it twice, the National School of Character distinction. Can you briefly tell me what that is, what the National School of Character program is?
Sure. I think it's important to kind of understand a little bit of background before we just go into what National School of Character is. Back in it's the early 90s, Congress recognized the importance of character education in schools, and so they developed the Character Education Partnership, which is now morphed into character.org. And character.org has created the 11 Principles of Effective Character Education, and it's a framework that schools can use to guide their culture of character and help with planning and implementation of character development initiatives. So each year, character.org, they certify schools and districts at the state and national level that demonstrate a focus on character development based on those 11 principles. So Southside was recognized in 2014 as a state school of character, and then and that's a recognition.
That's a big one too. Yeah,
hold that for 3 years, but then the application is pushed on for national review, and so we were named a National School of Character. And so when you have that recognition, it's held for 5 years. And so we were named state and national school in 2014 and in 2019. So for the past 10 years, we have been a National School of Character.
I don't think people, I mean, that's a big deal. Like, you're recognized nationally
at the national
for
level.
this character development that you're pushing on your campus. That's huge.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, being a school of character definitely requires a commitment from every single person who steps foot into that school building, that they're going to help reinforce the school's shared values and what we believe in as far as character development.
I want to, I know we earned at Southside a new distinction from Capturing Kids' Hearts. So can you kind of talk about what it is that y'all got, what y'all were named for, and maybe even a little bit about what Capturing Kids' Hearts, as we call CKH in our district, what that is?
Yeah, sure. Capturing Kids' Hearts it's really a relationship building approach to discipline, and it helps create self-managing groups of children. At each campus, there are even teacher leaders. Karen is one of the teacher
you're a leader,
leaders.
yeah.
Yes, she's a process champion, and they help lead the implementation efforts among their colleagues.
So they're training, helping to not train, but like really get the staff. I guess train it really,
with buy-in, and then leading by example. And Karen does a great job in her classroom.
So, in my classroom and outside of my classroom, I have conversations with other teachers about how they can implement some of the things a little differently. Mm-hmm. I've had our librarian come in, watch how I do some things, and she's like, I thought it was harder than that, but watching it is easy. And now she's doing some of the things that I do.
Cool.
So it's been fun and interesting being put into this new role this year.
And so schools that do a really good job with their implementation efforts, if it's their first year of implementation, and Southside is in their first year of implementation this year.
Because we have been rolling it out across the district. not all across at one time. The schools have been picking it up here and there. And Southside,
A couple schools trained every year.
Yes.
Right. And so Southside was trained this year. It's our first year of implementation. So we were recognized as a rising star school through CKH. But there are 2 other campuses in our district, Angleton Junior High and Northside Elementary. They're much further along in their
the process.
CKH process than we have been. But they've been recently recognized as a national CKH showcase campus. And so those 2 schools have done great things with CKH, and so they're leading by example in that way.
Why, Karen, do you think something like CKH is so important to have in the school?
I like the with CKH, it's universal. Like every teacher uses the same language. We use the same hand signs. So as a music teacher that I see every class, it really benefits that if I come and do the hand sign in the letter T, that the entire class immediately stops talking and they pay attention.
I wondered where that came from. I did not know. I have seen almost all the schools doing that, the T, the timeout.
And universal timeout.
I didn't realize it came from CKH. That's cool. Okay.
And then they have the check hand sign. Like if someone's off task, they can remind their friend to come back and reset without saying a word. And then they also have the hand sign to call a foul if someone's done something to them. If a foul's been called, then they have to give 2 put-ups. And say 2 nice things about
2 nice things. Okay.
And it can't just be, I like your shoes. We have to do more in depth. Like, I like that you're a nice person or something about who they are instead of just what they are.
I love that.
And in my classroom, my favorite parts are probably when we start, I have a student led with good things and they come in the room and they take over, they teach it. They come in and get the attention of the class. They call on kids to share their good things, and the older kids are asking questions about what they're talking. So it's fun watching this process and go through it this year.
It's really building, again, a community, and that's what's important is like making sure we as individuals understand our role in the community and that we affect each other.
Is strengthening that student connection.
Absolutely. Do you want to add to anything about the CKH in terms of maybe what it does to the development of a child?
I think as far as the development of the child, it really helps with just emotional regulation, that kind of thing. Like we said earlier, it helps them stay connected to one another. If they're asking each other questions about their good things, it shows interest in each other's lives. But I think beyond that, it helps teachers. It gives teachers tools to communicate more effectively with their students. And so it doesn't just build that student-to-student connection, but it's helping to build that student-teacher connection. Mm-hmm. And I know our superintendent, Mr. Edwards, frequently shares that he believes the most important relationship that exists is that between, the relationship between the student and the teacher, and CKH really reinforces that.
It really is. And I think this is a great tool in our arsenal to try to capture those kids' hearts. No pun intended, but that's really, if we capture their hearts, we can teach them. I'm going to close out our segment with you guys, but I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you so much. The last question I do have for you, though, in general, character development. I want parents to understand maybe why we emphasize that as something. Why is character development important?
Karen and I talked about this, and we talk about it quite a bit, especially over the summer when we were planning for the beginning of the year. And what we kind of agreed upon is that time really does fly. And 10, 15 years from now, the students that we have now in class are going to be adults in our community. And so we feel like character development now is just going to help our kids be more successful in life. It's going to help them in their interaction with other people. It's going to help give them strategies they can use to problem solve and effectively and peacefully deal with conflict.
Right.
It's going to help them manage their emotions and reactions and influence their decision making in a more positive way. So, our goal is really just to help our kids be good people in the world. And we believe that our Southside students are going to have an advantage in life because of the character development they received from us in their formative years. And so Karen even had her own example of this.
So give it to us. It's a personal example. My daughter is 18 and she went to Southside from 1st grade through 5th grade when we were doing restorative circles, and she learned
that was a different practice we used to do before CKH.
But it's similar because it's building relationships. But she went on a school-sponsored trip, and her roommates kind of had some issues. So she led a circle with a talking piece where each kid got to talk. And she learned that technique from going to Southside, and it's a way that they resolved their conflict that they had. And it was
Peacefully resolved.
Peacefully.
Yeah.
Everyone was happy and they walked away and they were all friends and they still are friends. And it was nice hearing her say that she learned that from us and she's using it as an adult now.
And even though that was a previous practice, it's something that we still do at Southside, still reinforce with the teachers.
It's still
and with the
about
kids
character.
that-
It's still about
It's still an
that.
effective tool.
Ladies, I want to thank you for joining us. Y'all have done so much for the school district, so much for Southside. Thank you for the impact that you make every single day with our kiddos. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We're going to close out the final episode of AISD Extra, of course, with our superintendent, Mr. Phil Edwards. Hi, Mr. Edwards. How are you
Hello,
doing?
Hannah. How are you today?
Great. We have, I know this dates our episode, but how many days of school left do we
I
have?
believe after today there are 9 days with students still in class.
So
So this is always an exciting time of year for everyone.
And I want you students out there who might be listening, to know it's exciting for us adults as well. I want to start off, we just released new attendance zone drafts for the 25-26 school year. I know that's a big, big deal. Again, 25-26 school year, but can you speak just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we put these out on our website on Wednesday, and we're asking the public to give us feedback, whether that be staff, students, family, community members. The results so far have been really strong. We've had over, I believe, 130 replies so far, which we're...
And that's through our survey that we're
That's
asking
through our
you.
survey,
Yeah.
correct. And so we're very pleased with that, reading that feedback, looking at those questions that people are having. Last thing I'll say about that is the survey will be open through August. So you still have plenty of time, if you haven't done that yet, to please go in there and give us feedback about the new attendance zones.
Yeah, our goal is to make sure that we get the information out once they are finalized.
Correct.
Well in advance so people have a chance to adjust.
Correct. And it's important to say here that these are just drafts.
Right.
That we still have several times we'll go through this. The feedback people are giving us may allow us to change some of those things. These things will not be finalized until November. And so, again, that feedback now is very important. They are not set in stone at this moment.
Good to know. And if someone has submitted a question through that survey, when would they maybe hear back from you?
So we'll be going through all the responses at least once a week. If there's very specific questions, then they would expect to get an email back from us answering that very specific question in about a week's time. A lot of times we're starting to see the same question kind of asked a couple of times over. So instead of referring or emailing people back individually on all of those things, we will probably put out some mass information either through a social media post or something on our website or just a communication in some form kind of answering those general questions we're getting.
Yeah. So again, it's really important, guys, that survey's open through August 30th. People have plenty of time to go in there and do that. Again, staff, students, community, everybody. Yep. We want to hear from you because your input does matter.
And let me just say this. Yes, not only does their input matter, but we want to be as transparent as possible with people.
Right.
We don't want anyone to be surprised about when we finalize these things about what it's going to say, what it's going to do. Hopefully everyone will know and understand why we're putting these new zones in place and the process that we got to get those zones in place.
Right. Shifting a little bit.
Okay.
I just really want to close out this episode with you maybe telling us what you're proud of, some highlights of the school year that you think stand out that you want to talk about.
Well, I will tell you, our vision statement in AISD is achieving excellence because we're Wildcats. And I will tell you, this year we have achieved excellence, and we have done this in a lot of different ways. You just heard Dr. Stevens talk about we're an A-rated district, but so many more great things have gone on in our school district that we're very, very proud of it. I actually had to get these things written down for me because there's so many.
So when we hear the shuffling of paper, it's because there's so many things to
It's
highlight.
over a page of excellence and recognitions that we've gotten.
Wow.
So here are just a couple of those things. This year, for the first time, we've had 9 Angleton Junior High students advance to nationals in the Great History Challenge. I think that's really important about this is the first year they've ever done that. Mm-hmm. And so to get this far in year one is just amazing. Our CTE groups, we've had 4 CTE groups that are going to nationals, our health science groups, our DECA, which is our business classes, our FCCLA, which is culinary arts, and TAFE, which is our education students. So those 4 groups are all going to nationals.
That's all. I mean, that's a lot. Nationals is a big deal, guys.
That's absolutely it is. In athletics, our football team made it to the second round of the playoffs. We had multiple teams in the playoffs. Boys soccer and girls softball were both district champions. We had 2 swim athletes go to state, Stefania Fletcher and Luke Cook. And this last weekend, we had 2 track athletes at the state meet, Micah Johnson and Harley Fonville, who went for the second time, and she finished 3rd at the state track meet in discus.
Second year she's brought home medal, too, because she medaled again last year.
Absolutely. Our fine arts department this year has been on fire. They've had a great year. One thing we're very proud of is our total fine arts department was named for the second year in a row the best community for music education. So the whole district got that. That's theater, that's choir, that's band, all of those things that go into that. Our color guard and percussion and drum line all went to the state finals for the first time ever. We got sweepstakes in wind ensemble. Our junior high choir and our high school choir both got sweepstake choirs. We had a student, Torrin Merchant, who was a nomination for the Tommy Toons Award for Best Singing and Best Actress in a School Play. And our AHS Speech and Drama advanced to national. So again, you see lots of great things going on in fine arts. And then just some other things that are beyond STAR and testing. Angleton Junior High is named for the 3rd year in a row a No Place for Hate campus. Through PLCs, which is a way in which we plan, our teachers go through a specific planning process. We had 4 schools recognized for that. Southside Elementary is a model PLC school, and that's the highest honor they can achieve there. And then 3 other campuses were promising practice PLC campuses, Angleton Junior High, Angleton High School, and Westside. And our social emotional learning framework that we use is a national organization, Capturing Kids' Hearts. We had 1 Rising Star School for Capturing Kids' Hearts, and that was Southside Elementary. And then we had 3 national showcase schools for Capturing Kids' Hearts, Angleton Junior High, Northside, and Cats also as well. And then finally, the last thing I would like to mention is our district was a finalist for the HEB and Excellence Award. We were one of 3 small schools throughout the whole state of Texas that were nominated for this. And we had a great time getting to show off our schools to those judges. We got lots of great feedback and got to show off lots of great programs in our school district. So overall, I think I'll go back to that achieving excellence because we're Wildcats. I think that's exactly what we've done this year.
Again, these are just some examples. This is not even everything that's happened at AISD. We know there's been so many things that are great out there. I just want to tell you thank you. I know we're closing out on this. Oh, I got a big smile from that one.
Yay. I don't get many thank yous from Hannah.
Wow. Yeah, I feel that is okay. Maybe not so true, but all right. I do want to tell you thank you for your leadership. I think everybody at Angleton ISD would agree. All the staff would agree. So appreciate that. And for allowing us to start this podcast. I think people really are going to get to, as it grows, get to understand and know what's going on. You hit transparency earlier. We want to get our messages out there and really communicate with people.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that your team has done through your leadership. I think this podcast is a great PR avenue for our school district. We want to get people listening to this, asking us questions, and let us know what topics they'd like to hear from. We will be doing this again next year, and so we'll put something out about what do you want to know about.
Right.
And this is a great way to get that information out.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Edwards, and I want to thank all our guests for the episode. I also want to thank Alex Radow, our producer, Des Parrish, our sound engineer, who is graduating this year in that 10 days. So we're sad to lose him, but we are bringing on Thomas Garza to come in his place. So we're excited to bring him on the team. Des, you're always part of our team. And another thank you to Scott Fardosi, one of our great band directors out there. You already heard how great our fine arts is doing. He's part of that program. Thank him for the music that he's provided for the podcast. So for the last time for the podcast for this school year, this is Hannah Chalmers. Stay excellent, Wildcats.